So, this is not something I was expecting at all. um, Here we are. I don't know how this exactly happened. I don't know if this is exactly. I don't know if I made this happen or if this just happened by chance, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But my video somehow got to the big old saint, big man Saintontas, and he actually reacted to the video. And I don't know, man. This is not what I was expecting at all. I literally I was about to start streaming, and then I got the notification on my phone that I got tagged in a video, and I was like, "Bleh, gulp." The fuck. So yeah, I just want to start off by saying big thanks to Saint Tontas. And also, okay, so funny story, kind of. Um, I had actually messaged him. I'll show the DM like here, up, oh, up there, yeah, somewhere there, yeah, there. I'll put it right there. I messaged him asking if he'd be willing to check out the video, and I was basically like, oh, you don't have to do this for your react. I'm not expecting any type of you don't, whatever, like I just wanted some insight and maybe see what his take would be, considering everything. It's good to have multiple different takes, and I originally wanted him to check out the video and give me some insight and give me his take and see what he thought about the system. Let's see, and maybe do you think I was being a little too harsh? Do you think I was being a little too disingenuous? Or do you think I was being doom posty? Which obviously is not something I want to do, right? I want to have discussion. I want to be able to talk to people about these things. It's there's still a bunch of shit the game does amazingly well, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is the last straw, Kuro. You are gonna fucking ruin the game and run it down. That's whatever, bro. That's so dumb. But yeah. I already liked the video. I'm already subscribed to him, so I mean, it's just big thanks to Saint Tontas. Thank you so much for reacting to this, and I'm a little nervous, but here we go. I really was not expecting this video to blow up as much as it did, so let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is pretty safe to say, with the release of characters like Zani, Phoebe, Kachona, as well as Arrow Rover and even Spectral Rover.
This do be an hour-long video, so I might speed this up.
Talking a lot of stuff about the elemental system, the attribute system, debuffs like Frazzle,
1.5
and soon-to-be-released ones, right, like Glacial Shave, Fusion Blast, all of that. And it's safe to say that the restrictions built into the system, the need to pair up certain.
If I see anything worth
some players the wrong way.
slowing it down for, or he's talking about something.
I'm saying that it kind of reminds me of Gotcha Smack for some odd reason. We got a video here by Lil Honey Schmack talking about
you did say it right. Thank you.
And I'm going to be real here. The fact that they only have 126 subscribers and were able to farm 5,000 views on what is essentially their first video ever that didn't do badly. Let's go ahead and see. They must.
Man, when you say it like that, it's yeah, you're right. Whatever.
Spitting. Elements are pretty sick.
It's fucking, bro, listen, that 2.2 project, that was a big project, and I'm a little annoyed it didn't get as, whatever. I just gotta work on the video quality. It's fine. Whatever. I'm not mad.
The ability to manipulate the natural phenomena has been ingrained into our brains since we were kids watching Avatar, or hell, even Power Rangers or Pokemon.
How would I sound like sped up? Good God.
There's Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblade, Avatar, Power Rangers, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Naruto, Fairy Tail, Bleach, Elden Ring, League of Legends, Star Rail, Genshin, Tower of...
Damn, bro's got the references. Damn, bro's playing a lot of games. He's playing a lot of content.
We don't talk about that one. The point is the ability to manipulate...
Listen, bro, that's my childhood. What can I say? Not Hoyo. Not the Hoyo games. They don't claim those.
Element is a staple to any form of media if you even slightly dabble in
Fence.
fantasy action. And Wuthering Waves is no exception. We have Gion with his Wind Dragon. We have Jinxie with her Light Dragon. We have the Electric Shangri-La with these hands. And
they're cubes, okay? They're called hypercubes, bucko.
Alright, man. Listen, I got there. I said geometry. Same thing. Whatever, man.
It's all sick as fucking presentation.
True.
Like, who doesn't love the idea of literally blasting mobs in the face with a blicky, which then
True.
releases crystal?
Carlotta's my favorite character for a reason.
Literally, like turning into a fire.
My second favorite character for a reason.
Wuthering Waves has always excelled with presentation, and there's no quality.
Third favorite? Second,
The
third.
issue is
Whatever.
that mechanically, the elements don't mean anything. See, back when wuwa first released, the elements were literally just an aesthetic to an extent.
Well, he's actually wrong there, because you know all of those debuffs that they were talking about, spectrofrazzle, area erosion, all of that stuff? Why do you think that when you fought the Morning Ikes in 1.0, you would take damage over time if it hit you? Yeah,
Man, all right. You know what? Like he got to do his content. I get to that. I say it, man.
Morning Ikes, if you guys attacks,
Whatever.
start taking damage over time, and people were wondering how they were getting like off-screen killed. Yeah, that's because the enemy.
There's a watcher. He says it. Someone said it. Someone said it. Look, it's right there. It's right there. Thanks, man.
Actually had access to those debuffs.
The most integration it had with the combat was that if the enemy was the same type, they'd resist attacks from said type.
That
And
is true.
whenever TOA deemed that this type is good for the reset. Aside from that, elements didn't mean much other than letting you know that you're going to be using a character with these effects instead of that effect. This was
I still kind of stand by that. 1.0, like, elements didn't matter that much. And I'm okay with that. I kind of prefer that, low-key. But you're about to see.
This was definitely because Kuro Games wanted a piece of that Genshin slice, and this was one of the many things that Kuro added because Genshin had it. But besides that, it didn't do too much.
I
I don't think it's fair to say that an elemental system with type matching and type mismatching is something that Kuro added just because Genshin had it. Because, well, I could just point you to an example of a game that did it like 20 fucking years ago. It's called Pokemon. Yeah, you guys remember types in Pokemon?
I
You use
just
a fire
mentioned
move
it.
against.
Okay, so I got some flack for this in my video, like in the comments there as well, and I was wondering if he was gonna say the same thing. Okay. I didn't mean to say or like insinuate that Genshin is the reason there is an elemental system. Clearly that's just not true. That's flat out wrong. And I even mentioned like different forms of media that use elemental systems. But I could see how me saying this the way I did can come off that way. But to clarify, I didn't mean that, Genshin is the originator. Genshin's the holy one. No, that's not it.
So fire Pokemon, it does less damage. Or if I use a water
I'll,
move against a fire Pokemon,
that's something
it
you
does
have to-
more damage.
I'll
I think
work
we're going
on in
ahead.
terms
I
of
think we're giving
wording
Genshin a little bit too much
and making
creative
sure
credit
I'm
over here
conveying the
by
right
saying that they
thought.
invented a resistance system based off of elements. Yeah, that's just, guys, that's a little bit disingenuous. I'm gonna have to call that out.
It's
I don't
not
think
what
it's
I
okay so
meant.
far, but that is a pretty disingenuous thing to say. 1,000,000%.
And you know what?
It's not what I
The
meant.
elemental reactions from Genshin are cool in concept and can be fun to customize your gameplay.
I love how he showed freeze, which is an example of an elemental reaction that's not actually usable against like the actual important enemies in the game. Like you can't freeze bosses, and so like this.
It's not even my footage. That's just the clip of the video that I chose. Whatever, man. Yeah.
This reaction is literally one of the most useless ones in the game.
But after a while, it becomes a situation where if you
Gotta
use
push
this
the
reaction,
agenda, you know?
Genshin also
I'm
has a
kidding.
certain combination of types on your team. You get passive buffs, which is cool again. But again, not the.
I don't think people recognize how absurdly restricting the system actually was. Where now it's like, oh, you might have a character kit that feels like really cool, but if you want to use that cool character's kit, you're gonna end up useless fucking bonus. Like, let's just say you want to have 2 animo characters in your team because you really like the kit of a certain animo character. It's like, okay, great. Now I have this useless fucking team buff where I now have 10% increased movement speed and 5% skill cooldown instead of 25% attack.
You know, it's funny he mentions this because it really is like a double-edged sword, you know? Like, in theory, this is cool, right? Like, elemental resonance, like, whatever, like, oh, having the same type, yeah. But, like, like he says, it is so restricting. Especially when it's like, why are you doing anything other than double pyro for 25% attack, right? But then it also got to a point where it's like, this shit low-key does not even, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, by the time you're in, like, current Genshin, current endgame, this shit doesn't matter. Just play whatever the fuck you want. Like, literally, like, everything's gonna die in, like, 2 weeks. Whatever. So, it is funny the way he brings
there are
that
just
up.
some of these things over here that are so absurdly broken. Like some of the elemental resonance things are so broken that it makes the other ones just completely dog ass, and it forces a lot of certain team comps. Why do you think Bennett's just an automatic slot in for any like pyro team or any team with like one pyro unit? Because if you don't put him in, you're gonna miss like a fuck ton of attack on your team, and the DPS drops off a cliff.
True.
It makes certain characters so much more required than others. So many characters so much more required than others. Yeah, Hu Tao's probably the only pyro.
Bennett is such a, like, I don't know what the fuck happened with Bennett. Like, 4-star has had the longevity of, like,
right?
I don't know,
because
fucking...
they want the Hydra with HP. This looks outdated.
Fucking,
I'm pretty sure the
I don't
Hydra
know.
resonance actually gives you more HP
the most
instead of
perfect
I don't know what the fuck
5-star
this is.
unit of all
But yeah, some of
time.
the stuff seems outdated. But yeah, this system ends up being way more restrictive than it is beneficial, and it makes certain characters mandatory in pretty much every comp if you don't want to grieve your damage, and it makes some characters unusable because they grieve your damage if you use them.
The most relevant, especially in wuwa setting, considering you're limited to 3 characters per team as opposed to 4, severely limiting the mechanic if it was implemented into wuwa. At that time, I didn't mind that it was mostly just a don't use this if it's the same situation. It was simple. It didn't make me use characters I didn't care for just to get synergistic stats.
You can still actually use characters with a resistance debuff. You just won't deal as much damage. In Genshin Impact,
This is
people
true.
are like just like gawk glazing this elemental system. You ever went against a Abyss Lecter? Y'all ever know what it's like going against an Abyss Lecter? Yeah, they basically are literally invulnerable. They're literally invulnerable unless you bring a certain element. Like, you just have to exit out. It's a hard lock unless you bring a certain type of character. You just literally cannot even deal damage to them. And that's what they have in their endgame.
Oh, that's kind of like those, oh my god, it's kind of like those stupid fucking, those stupid, it's a mob in wuwa, but I can't
Versus,
remember.
you can still bring who you want. You'll just do less damage. But at least you can do damage. And the only enemies in wuwa with full resistance are the fucking prisms. Like,
There you go. He just said the fucking prisms. Oh my god. Bro, it is actually so fucked up how, like, they are just straight up immune to whatever element. Not resistance. You straight up do not do damage. And, like, especially now when mono type teams, if you guys would want to call it that, are becoming more popular with, like, I get literally right off the top of my head, Zani Phoebe Shorekeeper or Zani Spectro Shorekeeper. Fucking Zani Phoebe Spectro, like, you know, that's all Spectro. You try and fight the light fucking prism? Yeah, good luck, buddy. That shit not dying. It's so dumb. And I know wuwa knew that no one fucking liked those. They did not fuck with those enemies at all. And that's probably why we don't see any of these types of enemies anymore.
ads. They're literally just ads that are like, there's not a single boss in the game with full immunity.
Fucking god
But
ads,
Abyss Lectors,
yeah.
oh boy. Oh boy, actual nightmares if you don't have the right team. But if you do have the right team for an Abyss Lecter, they're a fucking joke. They die immediately. There's almost no challenge at all in clearing them, as long as you're using the right units.
And honestly, it let me use my Wind Dragon and Flaming Bird in peace, and I was chill with that. Then 2.0 came out, and the elemental system went under a bit of a reconstruction. Sort of, not really though. I say that because in 2.0, Spectral Rover received a buff where he would now be able to...
That is still so insane to me.
DOT
It's just a
buff,
straight
or
up
damage
buff.
over
It was just
Like,
a straight buff, right?
Yep,
They lost
there
no
you
other
go.
power in their kit. They simply just gained synergy with a new Sonata set. And now I think they're one of the most, at least with the release of other new characters, they're one of the most competitive units in the game.
They soon revealed
Yeah.
that every element would be receiving some kind of secondary effect. Arrow getting Arrow Erosion, Havoc getting Havoc Bane, and so on and so forth. For the most part, we had already seen these debuffs, but they were done to us. The Monkey would apply Arrow Erosion onto us.
See, man, Saint, where are you? You're like down there? No, down here, down here. See, Saint, I told you. I know, man. I know.
Inferno Rider would apply Burn to us, and we'd get frozen by the Lampy, whatever the fuck his name is, when we got hit enough. 2.0 enabled us to access these debuffs, which would be cool if majority of them didn't fucking suck.
His reaction. Am I wrong though? Am I wrong?
I think it's fair to say Spectral Frazzle doesn't do that much damage.
Maybe I'm
Thank
exaggerating
you.
a bit, but I really don't like how they implemented a lot of these elemental reactions. For one, most of these are literally just DOTs that aren't actually significant. Spectral Frazzle DOT is barely noticeable, only being used as a requirement for Phoebe's damage amp, and soon to be Zani's. Arrow Erosion is just another form of taking damage. Molten Rift is a burst of damage when you hit them enough. And they're all just underwhelming.
I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be entirely honest here. If we're gonna have this much of a critique of wuwa's elemental system, do you know what Genshin's elemental system is?
If you're the pyro character and you hit something with Hydra on it, you deal more damage. The attack deals more damage. If you're the pyro character and you hit something with the cryo on it, your attack deals more damage.
I'm unfamiliar with Saint's fucking arsenal of voices. I've just been seeing him pull out these random voiceovers like every now and then, and like throughout his streams, throughout random videos. Like, what the fuck? But this is another thing that I guess I must have said it weirdly, or I framed it incorrectly. Yeah, I don't like the Genshin elemental system. And I've said it, I said it in the video, I don't care about that system. I admit, like, the system's there, and I admit it is cool in concept, but I don't fuck with the system at all. I didn't really find it fun to play with. I didn't really give a fuck about the elemental resonance. I like the idea that I have to pair specific characters, especially when I was playing. Like, what I played up to, I think, maybe like 1.1, 1.2 myself, and what the fuck, what was I running? Like, what am I running with elemental, the pyro resonance, right? What are my options? I had fucking Amber, Bennett, Deluxe. The fuck? Like, and just like the whole fucking, I don't know. It just, I did not care for the system personally. I know some people love it. It just wasn't for me. But I somehow, I guess, gave off the impression that I like the system and that I think the system's better. No, I don't care. I don't care about that fuck ass system. I just brought it up because wuwa and Genshin, they are like, you know, they if I'm gonna compare wuwa to anything, it's gonna be Genshin. Do I think the elemental system is better in Genshin? No, I don't. But I like, it's, you know, but I guess that is my fault for mentioning Genshin.
damage.
It
If
is
you're
what
an
it
electro character
is.
And you hit something with Hydro on it, you inflict a DOT. And then if you put Dendro and Hydro and Electro, you automatically win the game. You just deal a fuck ton of damage. Even though
His
nobody on your
voice is
team
so
actually
dumb.
built for damage. So it's like,
His
Yeah,
voiceover
you
is
could say
crazy.
that like Genshin's is equally like as ridiculously simple. It's just we only have 2 of the DOTs in the game currently. If we're
That
gonna
is
go
true.
that far, and unfortunately 2 of them do appear to be just damage over time effects. But it's not like adding an amplifying bonus to the attack is that much more crazy. It's in fact it's just amplifying one source of damage when you're doing like
True.
a vapor or cryo or a vapor or melt. So I mean I'm gonna be real here. I don't think that's that much more crazy. And then Hyperbloom is its own fucking disaster.
I'm
It's-
not saying
We haven't seen
it is.
majority
I
of
don't
these
like
effects yet, so maybe
it.
I'm missing.
The DOT system isn't supposed to be the main way to deal damage. Yeah, this is the thing. Guess what
That's
happens? in
also-
Genshin Impact?
that-
If you
that
don't
is
use
a
the
good
elemental
point.
reactions, your team is actually not playable. I feel like that's the thing that people don't realize is that if you're not using elemental reactions, your team is just
I do think it is a slippery slope. So while I do admit that the DOT itself is kind of like fucking like the damage is like negligible, right? Like no one cares about the DOT for its damage. While that sucks, I also understand the DOT not doing that much damage because then it's like, well, on top of the damage that your character's doing, then you have, if they were to buff the DOT damage, then it might just like where's the difficulty, right? So I get it. It's just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know.
useless. It's awful. It's terrible. Completely trash. Super restrictive for team building in the long run. You want to use your Pyro DPS? You better make sure you have a Cryo or a Hydro character on there. Otherwise, they literally cannot be used.
The only one that sounds
It's true.
wildly interesting is Havoc Bane, where it spreads like a virus.
What was the most recent Genshin releases? They were literally Pyro and Hydro. Malvika and Sitlali? Those two? Yeah.
Mechanic. But again,
Not that well.
all of them just being a dot kind of makes them feel boring, not special, lacking.
Fusion Burst is a stack that ticks up and then deals damage. Havoc Bait is also a stack that builds up and deals damage, and then Glacial Chafe freezes. So yeah, no, they're not all dots. I think it's a little bit much to say that they're all just dots.
That's fair.
I don't
Yeah.
know, it all just feels repetitive. Again,
But
I'm not
I do think it all just like kind of melts together. It's just like you hit them enough, do a little bit of extra chip damage. You know, like. But he is right. I shouldn't have labeled them all as dot, because they technically are not all dot. And yes, Alpha Hunter 456, it is Sonic Heroes music. Frog Forest, by the way.
hella pessimistic for a system that isn't even fully implemented yet. And who knows, maybe all these mechanics will be interesting and more impactful than they sound, but just their impact aren't the only issue that I have with it. See, a lot of these elements seem to be supplemental to characters with specific passives. For example, Phoebe does shit damage without Frazzle. I love her, she's great, but if you don't have any Frazzle on the enemy you're fighting, you're literally useless. Arrow Rover is just an erosion buffer.
Bro. I listen, like, oh my god. If I could, I would make a fucking rant video, but like, there's no point anymore. Chacona's about to come out. Arrow Rover stocks are probably gonna go up. Probably gonna get like, I don't know. Maybe we're gonna get more weapon syntonizing stuff, and then you're gonna get like fucking his resonance stuff. It's like, if I were to release a video now, it's like beating a dead horse, right? Like, who cares? So we all know Arrow Rover is like, it's fucking dog shit. Like, it's just dog shit.
For probably Chacona, who's gonna have some sort of interaction with Arrow Erosion. Or
It's true, she does. Good job.
You could still do shit, right? You can still do shit with Arrow Rover.
Chacona has an outro skill that buffs arrow erosion damage by 100%, and she applies a fuck ton
Yep.
of arrow erosion across her rotation, and can basically maintain uptime on arrow erosion almost permanently during the fight.
Oh yeah, literally, like every attack Chacona does, whether it's I think it's like her intro does it, her skill does it, her ultimate does it. I think her basic attacks do it. I'll have to double check in the game, but I'm pretty sure like everything Chacona does is like gives arrow erosion. Could have shared some of that with Arrow Rover, Kuro, but like never.
So yeah, the synergy is 100% there.
probably Cartethio whenever she comes out and we get to see her kit. The elemental debuffs themselves aren't important in the grand scheme of things, which kind of sucks. They just add a layer and an excuse to add more multipliers to characters that are coming out.
Well, it's a different way of dealing damage. And this is the thing, right? You can say that having elemental debuffs, which is, I guess, like arrow erosion and spectral frazzle in the game, isn't inherently good, because it's just not really that crazy of a way to deal damage. But guess what, guys? You literally are just given options at this point. Let's be real. You don't need to pull Zani or Phoebe or use Spectral Rover at all if you just have the Jinsei team, which is focused on no elemental debuffs at all.
Okay. I know my cat's not in the room, but I keep hearing the meow, and I'm assuming it's from the background music of his video, and I'm just like, what the fuck? But anyway, that's side point. Yeah, he's right. I didn't really think of it that way. The fact that the DOT characters are specific to those characters. If you don't want to play with that kind of like, what am I doing with my hand? If you don't want to play with those mechanics, you don't have to. You don't have to pull those characters. You don't have to interact with the mechanic at all. You can continue using Jinshi as your spectral DPS, or you could even use Rover as your spectral DPS. Like, you don't even need to interact with his frazzle, right? Because he doesn't really get anything from it. He just applies it, right? It's like whatever. But the thing I do want to bring up is like, at the end of the day, this isn't even like on like Kuro's predatory type shit, right? It's just more like my phone fell. It's at some point they're gonna realize that, right? Let's say like people just don't want to interact with the spectral frazzle like DOT mechanics, right? Kuro's gonna notice that, and they're gonna want to like, at the end of the day, they want to sell you the product, right? How do you sell a product? You make it so that the consumer needs it, that they feel like that if they don't have it, it's just going to be worse off, right? And that's the thing. It becomes a really slippery slope, and at that point, if Kuro really wants to, they could really just push that like dot meta or whatever they want. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I don't think Kuro's ever done something like that. I don't know their history in PGR. I don't know their history in what was the other game? Twin Tail Battleground. I heard that game was like a shit show, but like whatever. But yeah, like that's the thing though, right? Like, do I think Kuro's gonna do that? No, but am I gonna be like, oh, that's not ever gonna happen? That's not a possibility. No, like why? Like, what's the point of having a discussion if you're not gonna like consider all the possibilities?
And it just deals raw damage. If you have Gion and Mortifi, which you're basically guaranteed to have Mortifi at this point, you can just focus on dealing pure raw arrow damage.
You'd be surprised. I keep seeing a lot of people not have
this is just
S6
giving you
Mortifi.
options on how to deal damage with the team, and isn't requiring you to pull characters to have like elemental coverage. You don't have to play the dot team. You don't have to play the dot team in any circumstance. You don't have
even like, despite what I just said, that is a very good point. Like, I'm not gonna take that away, right?
You're just simply given two options for how you want to approach the damage, at least at this point. And is that the worst thing ever? Especially when it's pretty clear that the power creep numbers.
In that perspective, yeah, there are still options. It is still optional,
and numbers aren't actually there. Where you're not going to have a meaningful difference between using your Jinsei Cantarella team and then your Zani Phoebe team in endgame. You're probably not going to have a meaningful difference between your Arrow Erosion team and then your Geon team in the endgame. And I'm pretty sure, right?
That we'll have to see. Cause if Cartethia follows the follows the trend that like Jinshi or the Jinsei set, bro, the damage Jinsei was doing back then was straight up illegal. Like, no other character was coming anywhere near the amount of damage she was outputting and on such a consistent basis. And if Cartethia follows the same line, being like a what the fuck are they called again? Sentinel's Resonator. Yeah, this guy made a 2.2 review, by the way. If they follow that trend, who knows just how explosive Cartethia could be. But again, speculation. That's not really something to like hinge on. Fuck was that?
When the Electro debuff comes out, you're not going to have a meaningful difference between the Zhang Liao and Yinlin team and the Electro Flare team. Same with the Fusion Burst team, where you're using Brant and Chang Li as the opposing sides. It's just a different way to play the game. And if you decide that's something you like, where you like being able to deal damage over time, you like these mechanics, then pull them and go for it. But your hand isn't being forced like it is in Genshin Impact.
That is true.
You have to pull.
But that's the thing I'm
elemental
afraid
reactions,
of, right?
or
What
else
if
you
we
just
get to
don't
a
do
point
anything
where
with
it
the
is
character.
getting forced?
Y'all ever played Hu Tao without a Jing Cho or a Yalad on the team? Oh, fuck me. That's awful.
I really want to know about like his Genshin journey, because it seems like he's played Genshin. It seems like he's played like these teams, right? Like,
That's just not good. And yes, I know.
but then
some
again,
French
the
team, that's
idea of
pulling two
Saint
limited
playing
characters
fucking
to play in a
Genshin
French
is just
team,
like,
versus pulling a one Yalan or using.
I think he
your
did it
Jing Cho.
like
So
once,
yeah, there's a
right?
difference over there. And so people kind of like doom posting on this whole elemental debuff team.
I know he
situation
played a little
is
bit of
like, I can
HSR
understand
every now and
if
then,
that was
but-
the only way to play the element. But when you have all of these other alternatives that just deal damage in a traditional way, and the elements are just an additional option, I can't really see what the issue really is.
That is true. I will say, as of right now, yes, while Zani is insane, the damage she does compared to like what I'm gonna call the first gen teams, it's like not even that big. Like the difference is not that bad. Like, and I think if they do it that way, I think that'd be sick as fuck. Where it's like every year we get a new like series of characters that all do their own thing. Like I reference this a lot because it's one of the other games that I extensively played, but Dokkan Battle, like every year the meta's consistently shifting, right? Old characters aren't tossed away. They're constantly being pulled back. I mean, it's different, right? The Dokkan, it's like a team of 6, so like the roster's like crazy. But the meta is constantly shifting every year. It gives a fresher feeling, right? But at the same time, it still utilizes the older characters. If Wuthering Waves does something like that, where it's like, oh, here's a new way to deal damage, here's another way to deal damage, here's a completely different way to deal damage, while still maintaining a similar power level, which, I mean, obviously, the longer we go on, characters are going to get stronger, right? Like, if they don't get stronger, then it's going to get boring for us. That's why it's like, power creep is... There is a thing such as healthy power creep, alright? I love Gion, but 5 years from now, if Gion is doing just as much damage as, like, the fucking, or if the newest character is, like, doing the same amount of damage as Gion, it's like, at what point? Right? But that's a whole other topic. I just went off on a tangent, whatever.
Different interactions with these debuffs, but at this point, it just seems like if you have the debuff on, the character's going to do more damage, and that shouldn't be the only reason why you apply the debuffs. It once again makes it feel pointless, and
I do stick by that though. I think in a comment in the comment section that sentences in a comment that I responded to, I compared it to Pokemon, where it's like all the like, let's say the debuffs, right? Let's compare them to the status ailments like poison, sleep, paralyze. On their own, they are still useful and they still provide use to the whole team. But there are also certain moves that like benefit from these status ailments. Like, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the last game I played was like fucking, was it Scarlet and Violet before the DLC? If a Pokemon is poisoned, I'm pretty sure Sludge Bomb. It's either Sludge Bomb or there's a different poison move. It does more damage when they're poison. Inflicts double damage if the target is poison, right? So that's what I mean by like what am I looking at? I wish that the status ailments the debuffs did their own thing while also being useful to other teams.
Because they probably don't want to run into the situation of rebalancing every prior Electro team around the universal buff, and they'd rather just release a character, because the team you're playing right now, the Zhangli Yinlin Shorekeeper team, is currently at this point balanced.
Yeah.
And so adding a universal system
true.
would mean that it's no longer balanced, or something would have to be done to rebalance it. While simply adding a character that interacts with Electro Flare in a unique way would mean that you don't have to rebalance all these prior teams, and also not rebalance, or also not put a limiter on the future Electro teams that are.
This is true.
Erosion reducing defense would definitely make it a high value pick, so make it so that it only does so every 5 stacks up to 15 stacks up to 15%, or even like raise the cap so that, let's say you could get up to a max of 50 stacks, but you only get the defense shred every 25 stacks.
Well, that's the thing, right? You then have to balance that whole arrow erosion defense reduction so that it's not so strong that you end up having to put arrow erosion on every team, and it ends up being objectively the best.
Yeah. I think I should have definitely, if I wanted to do some kind of like defense shredding type of mechanic with arrow erosion, it probably should have been reducing arrow resist. Because reducing defense is just way too universal. At least with the arrow resist, it still effectively does the same thing while limiting it to specific characters, but not like literally like, oh, this character now it works with the arrow characters. But yeah, he is right.
One team,
It'd be really wonky to like balance
from Genshin Impact, where his buffs are so ridiculously fucking strong. He's a must pull, a must slot in on like so many teams in the game. And when you run into a situation like Swirl and Viridescent or
I still think this buff is so fun. It is.
Because if you don't, your damage fucking falls.
It is downright offensive that they fucking introduced this stupid ass outro skill.
Really
whatever.
Then abilities that increase the caps of these elements in debuffs suddenly have so much more value and are inherently more useful and less gimmicky. Finally, rebalancing passives surrounding these elements would be greatly appreciated. Listen, I get that they want to sell characters and teams, but it'd be cool if characters could also be self-sufficient. While Phoebe does need Spectral Rover, she's also capable of fueling herself with proper rotation timing between—
This is fucking you. Nobody does this.
He's right. Nobody does this. And if you do this, you're... I don't know why. But... the point I was trying to make is that you can do it. Like, it is an option.
Nobody does this. It's awful. If you're non-sarcastically starting a confession rotation and then going into absolution, you're just trolling.
By the way, doing this footage was actually so fucking obnoxious. It's actually the worst.
Nobody does this. Nobody does
like getting this footage. Because if
I
I press the wrong button, I have to sit there and wait for the bar to refill.
Some cool solo runs.
Stop it.
And Kuro, I don't know if you've noticed, but people really like soloing holograms.
You wanna know how else you can play around this using Zani? You can just use your enhanced skill 19 times, and then you'll have full blaze. You could just do that too.
Check out this video, it's a fun challenge I made for myself. Smiles. I don't want to play a character that needs another character to function. Not their full potential is fine, since this is a game that focuses on team building, but being completely bricked without another character.
Did someone say confession into absolution? Yeah, you could literally see that's what he was doing in the beat. Then again, I forgot, this guy is here to be a comedian for my chat. Maybe his monitor's off, true. Maybe his eyes don't actually work.
Which, by the way, can cost up to $300 or literal months of farming, is a shit feeling. How about instead of giving random damage multipliers, if an enemy is afflicted with a debuff, the resonator gets flat attack, or crit rate, or crit—
You wanna know what you wanna do if you don't wanna pull a character reliant on debuffs like Zani? You wanna know my recommendation if you don't like Zani's design and her reliance on Spectral Frazzle? Just pull one of the other 11 characters available this patch. You have 11 other units you can pull.
For damage or energy skill damage.
Yeah.
The passives
That's true.
Buffs and add-ons instead of key parts of their kit. But those are just my thoughts on a system that we haven't even fully seen yet. So maybe I'll stand corrected and will eat my words. But I still think it's a cool topic to cover. While I wouldn't have minded if the elemental system remained the way it was, I'd appreciate it if they put a little more effort now that they're going in the direction of making it more integrated in the combat.
Brother man, you're over here, you're showing like this crazy ass Gion gameplay where you're doing like 15k ticks, absolutely fucking up this boss. Think about how the game would have to be rebalanced if Gion is now doing—
Listen, it was all a ploy. I'm just a Gion apologist. I want him to be #1. That was all the point. That was the main point of this video. I don't care about nothing else. Give me a rare arrow erosion defense shred so Gion will be the king he deserves to be.
Arrow erosion on top of all of this. Like, the game is already complete without the debuffs, and the debuffs are coming in and just giving you a different way to deal the damage. And like, this is the thing, right? When the critique is mainly focused on the implementation of the debuffs, imagine if they had just simply never happened. I don't know if this complaint or this critique would exist. And so if you just view it as this is an alternative way to deal with
No. So here's the thing. Ideally, I really don't want debuffs. I like the originals thing. I just liked, he's purple. He does electric. Don't hit the purple people. He's red. You could hit anyone but the red person. I like that. That's simple. Whatever. But they wanted to add this, and I'm like, okay, bet. I just wish, the thing you guys added was a little more interesting, But I get what he's saying.
damage. This is an alternative way to deal spectral damage.
It is just an option.
Or erosion as simply like typing. Instead of like basic, heavy, liberation, or skill damage, it's erosion damage or frazzle damage.
Okay.
And I think that it becomes way less of like a complicated situation where we need to start like universally applying it to past kits and then setting limiters for future kit design in the future. That's my overall take on it. I think he's overcooking this quite a bit.
What do you guys think?
I don't think his points are necessarily wrong. I think the points that he's given are actually pretty sound, but some of the conclusions and the suggestions built off of those points are like a little bit, I think they're a little bit short-sighted in what the long-term implications would be.
Okay. No, I can definitely see that. Short-sighted is probably a really good way to actually explain my takes, or like the takes in this video. I'm glad he said that, actually. I'm really glad.
Same worries, or do you think I'm overreacting?
I think, again, the points are good, but I do think it's a bit of an overreaction and an understatement of what some of his suggestions would have.
Here's the thing. When making this video, I knew it was going to be like... It's impossible for me to talk about a topic like this without it seeming like overreacting, because we just don't have the info, or like we don't have the whole system laid out for us, right? Should I have waited to talk about this? Maybe, but I feel like with how Spectral Frazzle was handled and with what we're seeing with arrow erosion, I feel like I could make a decent guesstimate and make it not seem crazy. Right? But
would actually lead to.
Do you guys have any suggestions for what they should change or what you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I upload pretty often, and also don't forget to check out my Twitch. I'm typically streaming wuwa.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll give that video a like. I'll actually give it a sub too. Again, I thought that this was...
That's crazy. That's actually crazy to me. That's... Okay, so here's the thing, right? It's just the fact that I know I have that set of, like... I now know I have eyes on me, right? So now it's even more important that I, 1, fact check what I say. 2, make sure I'm articulating it in the proper way so that people don't think I'm a Genshin apologist. And 3, I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird pressure. But say anything else?
Quite a good video, and the points he raised were actually very valid. However, I think some of the conclusions and the suggestions that he brought forward from that, I don't think that a lot of the long-term implications of what those suggestions would do were really thought out as much as they could be. Because again, the main thing is limiting a future kit design, reworking of original stuff of original kits on the roster can lead to a lot more trouble than you might think. So that'll be that. Let me know what you...
There. I'll be the homie. There you go, guys. Gamer subs. Use this code.
You all think. Peace.
But wow. I mean, I don't know how he managed to make that into a 40-minute video. I guess that's insane. But you know what? It is what it is. I say that, but this video is probably gonna be like an hour. So, no, like I totally get it. I'm really glad that he basically was in opposition, right? He wasn't like a dickhead about it, or he wasn't like calling me stupid or like whatever the fuck, right? He was genuinely like taking in what I was saying, understanding where I was coming from, and then criticizing and giving me insight on why the things that I think would work wouldn't be best for the game. I'm not here to say that I know what this game needs. I'm not here to say that like I am the all-knower and that everything I say is what must happen. No. The point of me making this video was that so I could have people talking about it, see what people thought about my ideas, see how they would react with their ideas, see like, oh, do they agree with me? Do they want more diversity with this stuff, or do they think that it's still too early to tell, or do they think that what my ideas would entail would be even worse than what we have now? So I really appreciate this. Again, huge shout out to Saintontas for giving me the time of day. I was not expecting this today, and yeah, make sure to watch his video. I'm gonna leave the description down below, and yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. If you want to see me grow, if you want to, be there for the journey, that'd be sick. I do have a lot more content coming up. I'm probably gonna start integrating more of like actual gameplay besides just like talking. But because like, listen, as much as I like to have like these conversations, bro, I just want to play the game. I want to be slapping the shit out of people with Zani just as much as the next person. The fuck? But I think that is wraps on this video. Again, thank you to Saintontas. I already said this, but can't say it enough. Thank you to his viewers for, even though I saw you guys were fucking cooking the shit out of me. Fucking assholes. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.